Hey everyone, today I wanted to go over the strongest PvP poison roll build I was able to find using the core skill Rapid Fire. Let's get started with my Helm. You want to roll max life, cooldown reduction, total armor, and poison immune on here, and I imprinted 40% more damage to unstoppable enemies because you'll be facing a lot of unstoppable enemies in PvP, such as Barb. So yeah, that 4 ranks of poison imbuement is really important. Make sure you get it. Next is my armor. It's got total armor, imbuement skill damage, damage reduction, and damage reduction from close enemy. The thing about rogue body part is that body armor is that you can roll like a lot of offensive stats like this. Like I have poison, like max poison damage, imbuement skill damage, marksman skill damage, and damage reduction on here, right? So I'm sort of trying to compare between these two. Like I mean, I'm almost thinking about swapping it out between these two because of all the offensive stats. But yeah, I'm gonna do some more testing. But yeah, I think I'm gonna eventually swap over to the more offensive stats on the armor because like 26% poison damage and like 26% marksman skill damage, those are huge. And of course, the 30% imbuement skill damage as well. You can get up to like 42% max, and that's huge. But yeah, just try to get as much offensive stats on here as possible. I only equipped the more defensive stats because I felt a bit squashy. As you can see, I'm not max level yet, but yeah, you do want offensive stats on rogue body armor. And I did imprint the basic skill granting 20% damage reduction for 6 seconds. Let's move on to my gloves. Yeah, you want crit chance, attack speed, and 4 ranks of rapid fire. And ideally, you want max roll on dex or like lucky hit on there. But I got what I got. I rolled 43% more damage to injured enemies, and I imprinted the attack speed, 25% attack speed whenever your core skill crits. I mean, this shoots 5 arrows in a row, so proccing critical damage is really not that hard. So I imprinted that on here. On my pants, I got max life, damage reduction. That's really important. That 4 ranks of concealment, that is huge because each rank of concealment, it reduces the cooldown, and this is your main survival skill for rogue. It literally heals like 9% of your health per second with all the right skill tree, and yeah, this is what basically makes you unstoppable. I believe this is one of the most important skill that rogue has. So make sure you roll this 4 ranks of concealment here, and of course that dodge chance. Dodge chance is really important too. You can get higher roll of dodge chance against close enemies, so I chose that, but you can go with just regular dodge chance, which also benefits you from distance attacking enemies, so keep that in mind. And of course the escape artist imprinted on there. It is a really important and powerful aspect for rogue because it literally lets you lets you dodge like 7 consecutive attacks, and of course it knocks down your enemies when your smoke grenade procs and if they don't have the unstoppable, so it's really important to roll that. Next is my boots. It's got movement speed, dodge chance, and intelligence on all stats. You can roll energy cost reduction here, but I really didn't need that because my rapid fire it gains 15 energy per cast when it attacks vulnerable enemies, and I always attack the vulnerable enemies. So basically, if you look at my Paragon tree, so I really don't have any energy cost issues, so I chose to just roll intelligence and all stats on there. Mainly 62 intelligence for like Paragon board fulfillment, like to get extra bonuses and stuff. But yeah, you can definitely roll like a dex or other stats on here, more defensive stats. Yeah, and of course I have that Ghostwalker imported on it, and that 25% movement speed is actually really big. You can see like my character moves a lot faster. And if you can see my smoke concealment, like after I come out of the stealth, it literally only takes 5 to 6 seconds to get the cooldown back. So that's why this 4 ranks of the concealment is really important in PvP because of the cooldown on the concealment. So onto my main weapon, I'm gonna compare it with my old main weapon. So I used to use bow, but I did come to realization that 60% more damage to distant enemies, you cannot always proc that. If the enemy gets close to you, then you cannot benefit them from anymore. So, so you always want to roll vulnerable, dex, critical, and core damage. I mean, like damage versus close enemies, damage versus distant enemies, you cannot benefit from those stats. Like if you're depending on your range, right? So, but you can always benefit from the core skill damage. So, as a rogue, core skill damage is king, and it's always the most important role for poison rogue. So keep that in mind. And I also imprinted the more imbuement skill damage. You can roll it up to like 80%, and that's huge against vulnerable enemies. So this is how you deal like massive amounts of poison damage versus your enemies, because your poison skill already like synergizes with so much like Paragon board and like skill tree and stuff, but it literally lets you deal 80% more damage to vulnerable enemies. So that's how you just melt people with poison. So yeah, just remember for your main weapon and side weapons, always roll vulnerable, core, dex, and critical, because you don't want to roll any damage versus distance or close, or even damage versus like poison. Just, I mean, use whatever you get, but this is like I feel the most optimized stats: core, dex, vulnerable, and crit. So I do have that for both of my side weapons. Of course, you need that rapid fire ricocheting off of your target. I imprinted that on here instead of on my necklace, because on my necklace I'm using Edge Masters, which lets you deal literally 30% more damage if you have close to your max energy, and it's really easy to keep your energy level at max with the 15 energy per cast refund. So yeah, so just roll that rapid fire. Ricocheting, and this one you can roll other imprints on here, but I chose to go with more damage every time you're standing still. I found this sort of useful even in PvE, like because it literally lets you stack a lot of damage. Like, I mean, not being able to move is quite a bit of penalty, but as a rapid fire rogue, you can definitely proc this and gain more damage. So I'm gonna try to get 10% on here instead of 5%. That's a really low roll, but yeah, you can swap it with other imprints. But yeah, both core skill damage, vulnerable skill damage, and dex and critical damage. And my rings, you want to roll crit chance, crit damage, vulnerable damage, and max life. Max life is really important as rogue. You are indeed, after all, a squashy character compared to, let's say, like Barb or Druid. So you do want to stack up on max life. So I did stack up on max life on both of these. And this imprint is really important. Using agility skill reduces your cooldown of your next subterfuge skill. So that means after I use dash, the cooldown of my concealment is reduced by literally 20%, and that's huge. If you look at it, one dash and subterfuge, then it's a lot shorter than 11.81 seconds. It's more like 10 point something seconds, and yeah, that basically. So if you look at the cooldown, after I get out of the stealth, which it literally takes 4 seconds to get back my concealment. So this is what makes Rogue such an OP class. Like, you can literally outplay any class with this kind of ability, right? You have 2 dashes and like a skill that grants you stealth plus like massive amounts of movement speed. So you are untouchable, quite literally. And so you do need this imprint on here. And of course, I have this imprint on here as well. But like, you can swap this out with something else. So make sure to leave a comment on suggesting on which roles would be better on here. But let's move on to my skill tree here. Of course, you're using puncture. Puncture lets you make your enemies vulnerable. I think this is really OP. Like, being able to make your enemies vulnerable at all times. Like, if you just get close and just keep puncturing. But yeah, make sure you get puncture. Of course, rapid fire, enhanced rapid fire, and I use improved rapid fire for. Like, if you just use this, then you never need to worry about the energy cost reduction, and you can just spam fire this. I'll show you in a bit, but yeah, that's why I use improved rapid fire instead of this advanced rapid fire. And I have sturdy. Of course, this is for my tankiness. I don't want to be too squashy. This is really important. I kept this because sometimes I do a fight in the close quarters, so I kept 1 point in here. But you can take this out if you want. Really, your major healing skill is your concealment after all. I moved over here, and I used dash. I only upped it up to here. Enhanced dash. I didn't take neither of those two because yeah, I wanted to use those points in something else. I used concussive just for the yeah, just for this bone, just to route here basically, because this thing basically lets you knock down enemies when you attack the dazed enemies. It's really important when you're using the escape artist. And of course, I maxed out on the concealment. This is like the most overpowered skill I feel as a rogue, because this lets you move at an absurd speed, plus lets you heal like yeah, because of this, yeah, while you're stealth, you heal for 12% maximum life per second. So for 4 seconds, you heal 48%. I think this is really super duper like overpowered, but it is what it is. So yeah, I put 3 points in here, put 3 points in exploit, 2 points in the malice, and yeah, of course, maxing out poison imbuement. You can see I have 12 levels on poison imbuement. I believe this is like the max roll you can get, because I have yeah, I forgot to mention, but you do need to roll this 3 ranks of the imbuement skill on here as well, because yeah, you deal literally 300% of your regular damage as poison damage, and it even lets you deal like 75% increased poison damage. So like, Rogue's poison damage is literally insane if you realize how much you can stack, how much you can synergize. Like, this is not even the end, right? Like, this synergizes with Paragon board, and the Rogue has so much like poison specialized Paragon board damages. It's just, I don't even know what they were thinking when they're balancing this, but yeah, it's really really broken. I'm gonna show you what I mean in the Paragon board. Um, yeah, 3 points in here, 3 points into here. Of course, more poison damage, most important. And I did choose to go with Shadow Clone. I mean, some people don't like this because some people don't like long cooldown ults, but this is definitely one of the really strong choices for any ults in the game, because it grants you unstoppable for 5 seconds, and you only have concealment to save yourself from stuns and stuff, right? But if you have this for 5 seconds, then unstoppable for 5 seconds, then yeah, you do gain big survivability. That's what I'm trying to say. So make sure you take Shadow Clone, or you can go with like something like Shadow Step. This is really really popular because you can like stun your enemies and you gain 2 charges. But yeah, I chose to go with Shadow Clone to gain Unstoppable instead of the Shadow Dash. So that's your preference. But in my opinion, this lets you deal massive amounts of damage, because you literally can double your damage literally, like, because your Shadow Clone deals 80% of damage. And yeah, like if you're like, especially if you're like versing versus like 1v3, 1v2, like yeah, this helps a lot. Of course, I have Adrenaline Rush, which lets you get increased energy regeneration, and I have Haste. Yeah, mainly for the movement speed, I would say. And of course, I have a Precision, because you have to take this as a Ranger Rogue. Now let's move on to the most important part, my Paragon tree. I'm gonna try to keep the video short, but yeah, let me just quickly explain here. So I started over here, took Prime, over here, took Ranger here, because Ranger, I can take literally 70 dex from this board, and this grants you a lot of damage, 92% marksman skill damage. And I routed over here, Skillful, Lawless. Over here, I took all this core damage. Core skill damage is really, really important as Rogue. I'm not sure which board this is, but yeah, I don't really know like all the board names and stuff like that. But I'll just show you the board and start explaining. Core skill damage, 200% armor, all important. Now I'm gonna move over here. Yeah, like this vulnerable damage, and potion healing. I didn't take the Hunter Kittle because I don't really like that movement speed bonus. It doesn't really help at all in PvP, I don't feel like, but you can definitely route over here, maybe invest 6 points and take this if you want. And I routed down here. As a bow rogue, it's really hard to proc this, so I didn't take exploit weakness, but TV rogues definitely take this. Routed over here. I took max life, 20%. So the damage, right? This damage skill, like instead of like not poison damage, not damage to close enemies, like just plus damage skill. This benefits you in both physical and poison damage. So this is really huge. You want to stack percent damage as rogue. And of course, I took exploit over here for more vulnerable damage. Oh, and I forgot to mention over here, I did take Bane for more poison damage, and I did take combat for more critical strike damage. But I did invest a lot into Ranger, and I routed over here. I took Ruin over here, more damage to healthy enemies, just because I was routing over here anyways. And then over here, I invested a lot of points into this Canny, right? This lets you literally doubles your non-physical damage, 97%, right? This is absolutely massive. Oh, I forgot to maximize my Paragon board. I forgot, but yeah, you do wanna invest a lot of points in here because this, I think the amount of points it gives you per each intelligent is like the greatest out of any other damages. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure it is, right? It's kind of close to Bane, but yeah, I did take a lot of points in here, and of course I took Bane tier. Like, I mean, you can't really benefit from secondary bonuses, but doesn't matter. I mean, I was routing over here anyway, so I took it. I only took this board just to maximize this Canny glyph, and I routed over here, of course. I took like this ready supply board. This is where all the imbuement skill related stuff is, so I routed over here and took Potent. And I'm gonna take this as well, dosage. This grants you more potion healing, which is kind of important, but not that big. But yeah, I have efficiency here, which lets you deal 20% increased imbuement skill potency, and it boosts this as well. So, and I routed over here. Of course, ready supplies is really important. Then I routed over here, and the Eldritch Bounty. You must take this as well. This is really big, especially when you're versing versus poison rogues. It lets you stack poison resistance. So make sure you take this. I only have 12 more points left because I'm level 93, and I'm planning to finish out this board with taking this imbue skill damage, non-physical skill damage. So yeah, that's basically it. I'm going to go over one more time. Ranger, Bane, Combat, Exploit, Canny, and Efficiency. So that's how I finished off my board. In terms of PvP tips, you always want to, before you go into the combat per se, you want to charge up your poison imbuement, because this lets you hold this 2 charges forever, right? Once you charge it, so after this cooldown is back up, what I mean is that you can only shoot twice, right? But you can shoot 4 times in a row, four poison imbued attacks in a row, because you have cooldowns back up. Yours is already charged, right? So what I mean is that you shoot twice like this, charge it up, and then shoot again. So you shoot poison skills 4 times in a row, and that is really, really important. So if you know you're going into the combat, make sure you charge up your poison attack before going into the combat. And of course, your concealment is your bread and butter. It lets you escape, it lets you cleanse the stun or any other CCs, and it's really, really important. Make sure you don't just pop this out of nowhere. Make sure you hold on to this just to like counter stuns and enemy closing in and stuff like that, right? And then dash is your bread and butter as well. Just dash and gain some distance from your enemies, because you do want to be shooting from far away. But if you cannot keep distance, then yeah, just make sure you use concealment and dashes. Yeah, so that's basically it. I mean, this class beats everything, including TV Rogue as well. TV Rogue, I would say it's 50-50, but it's kind of funny because of the poison damage is so absurdly broken that it's just whoever hits the other rogue first basically wins, right? That's from my experience, but yeah, you can definitely beat or even like outplay TV rogues because you are ranged after all, right? If you're really good at timing it, if you do like space out your concealment and dash cooldowns out correctly, then yeah, like sometimes they can't even catch you and then you can just completely destroy them, right? So yeah, that makes this build one of, if not the strongest, or I wouldn't say the strongest because there are like other really strong PvP builds, but it is definitely one of the strongest builds. I can definitely say that. Yeah, it's definitely, I would say, in top 3 or whatever, right? Because it beats Poison TV rogues literally, if you got good enough controls, right? But yeah, that's about it. I mean, I sort of I didn't record a video in a long time, so I sort of like stuttered and stuff like that. But you know, I think I did a good enough explanation. I do want to mention the game sort of feels a bit drier after, you know, kind of shitty patches, to be honest. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the next patch. I really wish they buff Barbarian, Sorceress, and all that to a reasonable level in terms of PvP, and I really wish they would add more areas, or or maybe like health hides, right? Like the PvP areas being different in rotation, like different maps, right? It really gets really boring if just playing in Alzuda and Denshar for like 2 months in a row, right? So yeah, but that's my Poison Rogue build. Enjoy, and leave any comments, any suggestions, because I wouldn't say this is like perfect, but yeah, there's always room for improvements. So yeah, I also had a question about like this effectiveness of the condemnation. I was thinking about using this, but I didn't really like it because you have to stack combo points. But yeah, some people are saying this is really strong. So yeah, do let me know. But thank you for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Not ready. I need more time.